our social media handles, and we are going live on YouTube, Twitter, on the both of the handles, like Twitter and YouTube. So yeah, we'll wait for a few minutes, then we'll start. Okay. Hello. That's great. So ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं करते हम, will start the session. And as of now, just wanted to confirm, like, we are collaborating with the WTM Sambhajinagar Women Techmakers. So this stream is also live onto the Twitter handle of the WTM Sambhajinagar. And we have host Asta, the WTM ambassador, with us for overall with the session with me. Okay, and our co-speaker Rohit Ranjan is with us to let us know more about the Google Solution Challenge, and what like he experienced overall to the channel challenge. Okay, in 2022. So let me introduce our today's speaker, like Rohit Ranjan. He's a Flutter developer at Health Tech, and he's also a contributor at Google Developer Library, which is Google Dev Library. He have like contributed on different articles or to the Google Dev Library, and he was a part of the Google Solution Challenge in 2022, and he was one of the like top 50 projects he submitted over there. So today, Rohit Ranjan will be going to guide us overall his journey, and we'll be having some question answer with him, uh, like to know more about the Google Solution Challenge and how we can achieve the goals with the 17 SDGs today. So I'm handling the mic over to the Rohit. Yeah, Rohit, you are audible. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you can see my screen, right? Okay, sure. So, like, what will I do is first explain everything about solution challenge, and then I will share my experience of like how I participated. So, just like everyone who's planning to participate this year in solution challenge, even I participated in solution challenge 2 years back, that is in 2022, and it was exactly this month of January when I started working on my project. So I will guide you through what solution challenge is, how do you participate, how do you create your solution, how to define your problem statement, and what are the rules based upon which the judging are done. Right? So, like first question you would obviously have like, what is a solution challenge? So solution challenge is a competition, or rather say a hackathon conducted by Google Developer Student Club every year to solve one or more of your United Nations 17 sustainable goals. So in 2015, United Nations created its 17 sustainable development goals. So I'll come more to what are sustainable development goals. And in the year 2018, Google Developer Student Club decided to collaborate with United Nations to make sure students, university students, create some projects with the help of Google technologies that can solve these goals, right? So Google Solution in simple line, Google Solutions Challenge is a hackathon in which you have to solve United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Like you have to solve at least one or more than one goals using Google technologies. Now, what are United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals? So, like there are some goals which United Nations aims to achieve so that we have a better standard of living around the globe. Let's say we have to remove poverty, or we have to make sure that there is zero hunger around the world. And if we talk about this current stage, you all must have known that climate change is such a big problem, which is going to impact our future generation. So, can you create such a solution that would help us tackle climate change so that it's feasible or it's helpful to our planet in the long term? So, 17 sustainable development goals are basically those goals which help to like improve the quality of life of humanity and sustain in a long term, right? For example, there is a project known as Earthly, which was submitted at Google Solution Challenge, which aimed to impact climate action. How did it impact? It gave you a virtual map where you can contribute as a part of projects. It helped to remove around 1 lakh tons of CO2. It like this was the impact that this project had. So if you look at this project, it solves three sustainable development goals, which are climate action, life below water, and life on land. Because see, we have also a life below water sustainable development goals, because we don't have to just think of ourselves as humanity species, as human species. We also have to think about nature and the planet as a whole. So our solutions should solve any one of the sustainable development goals, which are these. I'll share the slide to this so that you can have a better look. Now, talking about the eligibility, since all of you who are joining or looking at this talk must be an university student and must have a GDSC at your college. So if you are a university student and have a GDSC at your college, you're automatically eligible. And just for team building rules, all team members must join a GDSC chapter. And like if there's a chapter in your college, you all are automatically a member of it. And your teams can be from 1 to 4 people of team. You can't have a team of more than 4 people, and each person can join only one team. So that's the only eligibility you need to have. And let's understand the timeline of solution challenge, because solution challenge is a very long hackathon. So you have to understand what timeline you are going to follow so that you can create your solution on time. So if we talk about the timeline, I guess on January 11, Solution Challenge was announced for this year, 2024. And from Jan 22, your submissions will start, right? So I guess from tomorrow, the Google Forms would be ready and you can start submitting your solutions. Fab 2020 is the last date to submit your solutions. And I guess this year, this has been reduced by 1 month. Earlier than that, you had around January, February, and March to build your solution, but this year the time has reduced. So make sure you follow that timeline. You have nearly 1.5 months to build your solution and test it. So after you submit your solution on Feb 2020, you have your first evaluations in the month of March. And by the early April, top 100 global teams will be announced. If your team, if you are lucky enough, or if your solution is very good, your top 100 teams, your solution can be a part of that top 100, and you will get a notification in the month of April that your team has been selected for top 100, and then you will go undergo a mentorship session by Googlers. So we'll have an option to choose your mentor who will mentor you throughout your month of April, and by the late May you have to submit your solution. So like when exactly you have to submit your solution after top 100 isn't mentioned anywhere, but it would be conveyed to you. But in the month somewhere you can say you have April as a mentorship month, and the starting week of May you have to submit a solution for second round of evaluation. And in the late May you have the result for top 10 global teams, and in the month of June you will have a solution challenge demo day where top 3 winners will be announced. You must have noticed that the timeline has been reduced comparative to last year, because last year demo day was stretched to the month of August, but now it's like it will happen in June. So you have less time to build your solution and test it. So make sure of that. So how you have to understand how to create a problem statement. You can't create a solution until unless you have a problem statement, right? So your problem statement should focus on few points which I have mentioned here. So it should solve a significant problem that has a greater impact in short term as well as in long term, right? And try to use as many simple terms in your problem statements as possible. So how you can structure a problem statement is to divide it into four parts. First, who is experiencing the problem, right? What are the segment of people or the segment of community, and how many are there who are experiencing this problem which you are trying to solve? And like, what is the problem? You have to describe what is the problem. And the third is, where is the problem occurring? Like, you have to give a context that, okay, this problem is faced by this type of people at this place, right? And lastly, why is this problem existing in its first place? What are the causes of this problem, right? And how you can address it. So you have to define a problem statement into four different parts. Let's say who, what, where, and why. And it should not be a large problem statement. It has to be under 2 to 3 sentences, not a paragraph. So you have to crisp your problem statement and like properly define what your problem statement is all about. Secondly, so when you submit your submissions for Google Solution Challenge, you will have a very large Google form which will ask you different questions. If this text is too small, don't worry, I will share the slides with you, but I will give a crisp information about what all things you have to answer in that Google form. So firstly is your problem statement, right? After that, you have to mention what are the 17 sustainable development goals, which are you solving. If there are one, mention that one goal. If there are more than one, select all the goals or whichever your problem is your solution is targeting, right? And describe the architecture of the team. Like, you have to say, like, I have these team members who worked upon these different segments of the project. And which technology did you use of Google, right? You have to justify the technology which you're using. You can't just blindly choose any technology. There are points and there is evaluation done on basis of that also. And thirdly, fifth point would be, like, it's the third phase of your submission, which is feedback, testing, and iteration. You have to make sure that your solution has been iterated upon the feedback which has been given by the users for whom you are solving your problem, right? Let's say if I'm solving my problem for college students, so I have to take feedback from college students, improve my solution, and repeat this cycle until unless I reach to a most like the most viable solution that I can submit, right? So you have to make sure you have enough time for that. And you have to also do code testing because it's a technological solution. You have to write some code. You have to test your code that it covers all your test cases and all. And you have to measure the impact, right? So did your solution complete the purpose of for which it was built? Can it solve the problem which you are trying to solve, and on what scale? If it can solve it in a, let's say, a small community or a country or whole world, what's the impact of your solution, right? And you also need to submit a demo video of a solution in which you can divide your demo video into three parts. What is the problem? How are you trying to solve it? And what is the impact of the problem? Because your video submission needs to be under 2 minutes, right? And comprehending a lot of information under 2 minutes is very important, because anything above 2 minutes won't be considered for evaluation. So the first 2 minutes of your demo video are very important. You have to explain your whole project, the technology which you are using, and everything, right? And last step is scalability. It's like, in future, if this project is deployed to the real world, can it sustain in the near future, right? So, like what I said was, like, what type of impact can it create, and the technology on which it is built, is it scalable or not, right? Scalability can have different meanings. Let's say you want to transform a project into a startup. Can be turned into a startup? Does it have a viable business model, right? So you also have to make sure, but that doesn't constitute a major part of it, but you will be asked a question based upon that. So let's talk about judging. So judging has been divided into two parts. First is impact, second is technology. So just a gist of impact means, does your solution is able to solve the problem? And if it's able to solve the problem, and at what scale it is able to solve the problem, and at what percentage, right? So let's say I've created a solution which focuses on improving the education quality of students. Did the solution cover every part of students, either in urban area or rural area? And till what stage did it cover, like, improve the education of children? So you have to measure the impact, And these are all the different points. I won't bore you by reading all the points, but just the gist of impact is, let your solution solve the problem for which it was meant to be built, right? And the second part of judging criteria is technology. So what all technologies you have used, or let's say what Google technologies have you used, you have to justify them. Why have they used, and how is it scalable and testable in the future, right? Why have you used the technology, and on what part of your feature you have used this technology. You also need to share code samples and repositories of your code, because that would be considered for evaluation. So, like, there are 4 steps to plan your project, because this is a very long hackathon and you have to plan your project in order to build it on time. So let's divide your project into 4 simple parts, which is first ideation phase, second is prototype, third is build, and fourth is deploy. So let's talk about them. Now, your project will consist of Google technologies. Now, what are the Google technologies that you can use? So you have TensorFlow, you have Google Cloud, you have Firebase, you have PWS, you have Android, and you have Flutter. So you have to use these technologies to build your project, and make sure that at least more the number of technologies use has no like direct impact on your solution, but you make sure you can justify why you are using a particular technology, right? That's very important. So let's talk about each technology and how you can integrate in your project, right? So TensorFlow is a very beginner-friendly platform which you can use to build your custom machine learning models and deploy them, right? So if your project is something which consists of machine learning, you can consider using TensorFlow for that, because TensorFlow for web, it has something known as TensorFlow.js, which is very reliable and accurate. And for mobile versions, it has something known as TensorFlow Lite. So it has a very small model which doesn't take much of a size, can be deployed on cloud, and you can use it in your project, right? Second is Google Cloud. So Google Cloud, anything you want to store on cloud, use Google Cloud for that. Like, it's very simple. You want to store static assets, you want to host your functions, you want to host your website, use Google Cloud for that. That way you don't have to justify a lot why I'm using Google Cloud, because it has a global infrastructure, it has servers all around the world. Your project, you can justify how your project can be scaled using Google Cloud. Third is Firebase. So Firebase is very good if you're using mobile and web apps. So for everyone who doesn't know what Firebase is, so Firebase is a BaaS software. BaaS means backend as a software. And with Firebase, your most of your basic features of your backend, such as database, hosting, authentication, comes out of the box. So you don't have to write your own backend, which can consume a lot of your time. So if you're time bound, you can use Firebase to manage all your backend services, to have database, to host your app, to do authentication. You don't have to work upon all of these different features from scratch, and this can save a lot of your time. Now we have PWA. So what are PWA? So PWA are basically progressive web applications. You must have seen that certain websites, you can download it as an app in your phone, and instead of running it as a web application, it runs as a native app. So this is very useful if you only know how to create a website but don't know or don't have time to create a mobile application. You can use PWA. So if you have a website, that can automatically get converted into a mobile application, and this increases your reach and the impact that your project can have. And we have Android. So if you want high quality native apps and or for phone or watch, so consider using Android. Also, if you have to deal with a lot of hardware technologies, let's say in a mobile application, if you want to communicate with the sensors present in the mobile, so consider using Android. And last but not the least, we have Flutter. So Flutter is a cross-platform framework for building mobile application, web application, desktop application, all from a single code base. And like, Flutter is really good and really easy to get started, and it gives you freedom to deploy your app project on all the platforms that are basically available. So let's see how a simple app would look like, how you can combine different Google technologies and create a simple project. So let's say I have a sample app and which uses Cloud Firestore, which uses Firebase authentication and uses some cloud functions, right? Cloud Firestore is basically Firebase NoSQL database. So it uses collection and documents to store data in a key value pair. So you're using that as your database. You're using Firebase authentication, and you're using cloud functions. So you have a very simple tech stack which you don't have to justify a lot, right? The more the simple you keep, it would be beneficial for you during the judging phase. So for example, if I'm building a project which has only impact on mobile application, I can just use Firebase and Flutter, and that's it. I don't have to use any other cloud technologies, and my project would be sustainable, right? And let's consider a different application. So let's say instead of having these all messaging, let's say you have to give notifications. You are using cloud messaging of Firebase, but you also need to integrate Google Maps in your project, right? So you have to go to Google Cloud and grab an API key. So now your project also uses Google Cloud. So it's very simple and very abstracted on how you can use a project. So your Google technologies are divided into three simple parts. You're using Flutter, you are using Firebase, you are using Google Cloud, right? So this is how you can define why you're using your technology. You don't have to use Google technology just for the sake of using it. You have to make sure that you really need it, then only you're using it, right? And where can you learn this Google technology? Because you have need to have a source to learn these technologies, right? So Google Developer Student Club has created some code labs for every kind of technology. Let's say you want to learn Android, you want to learn Flutter. They have different code labs with different chapters divided into steps. So you can just have a look if you are getting started with a new technology. Let's say you are getting started with Flutter. Try to look at the documentation of Flutter on its official website and start building applications. If you face any difficulty regarding any technology, so Google has assigned some people who are known as Google developer experts for a particular technology. You can reach them out that I am facing an issue with this technology. I don't know how to get started. You can just reach them out. That's their job, to help out students who are starting with new technologies, and they would be more than happy to help you. So if you have any feature or any Google technology which you are trying to learn or planning to work upon, you can just visit these code labs or visit the official documentation. And even if you don't want to do that, just contact any Google developer expert. You can find that on their website or on LinkedIn, and you can learn about how to get started with the technology, right? Now, let's talk about Google Dev Library. So why am I talking about Google Dev Library is because your solution has to use Google technology. But let's say you haven't used Google technologies anytime, anywhere in your project, right? So you have to understand how to use it. So there is a platform known as Google Dev Library. So what Google Dev Library essentially does it's a showcase of open source projects created with Google technologies, right? So it is like designed by Google engineers who pick up some certain projects that they feel are very good or that demonstrate that capability of that technology, and they put it in a open showcase kind of. So it's like a museum, you can say. And if you want to visit the Android museum, you can visit it. You will find all the different projects which are created with the help of Android, and you will also find blog posts regarding them. So that way you can have a fair understanding of how can I integrate Google technology in my project, because that is very important, right? As I have discussed here, in your judging phase, you have to justify why you're using this Google technology, right? And see, there is a part which is known as code testing and iteration. So how is it important? Code testing is very important when you are using a technology, and if you don't understand why you're using, you can't address that, right? Because your demonstration needs to define exactly why you're using that technology. Let's say I'm using Flutter. So I have to give that, okay, Flutter solves the problem of maintaining different code bases, and that way I can ship features fast. That's why I'm using Flutter, right? I'm using a project which uses some feature of machine learning. TensorFlow is a very good example of that. I have to use TensorFlow because I have to implement machine learning in my project. Okay, I want my project that it should scale infinitely, and it should be accessible to everyone. So I have deployed my project on Google Cloud, right? That's very simple on how you can define your technology, right? So visit Google Dev Library on, like, you can just search Google Dev Library on Google, and you will find this blog post where you can visit and see what kind of projects are created or get an idea on how to use a project, right? And lastly, if you talk about the prizes, because I think most of you would have an motivation of prizes, and there's nothing wrong in that. So for prizes, like all the participants would get a certificate, but all the top 100 teams would get some customized swags from Google, and they will have a opportunity to get mentorship from different Googlers and Google developer expert. And for the top 10 finalists, you will have a special recognition. You will get a custom swag box and an opportunity to demonstrate your challenge on YouTube live in the front of whole world. And for the finalists are the top three people. You will get additional cash prizes, and the top three winners would get like more cash prizes basically. Like, but you have to make sure that you are not participating just because solely for the purpose of winning or solely for the purpose of prizes, but you have to make sure that your project actually create an impact, because the main motive of Google Solution Challenge is to solve the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. You have to make sure you create a solution which actually solves the problem. That way, automatically, you will increase your chances of winning, right? So that's all the basic information about Google Solution Challenge. Like if you have want to know anything about my experience working with, I'm happy to share. But that's the basic thing, or that's all you need to know when you are starting to participate or thinking of participating. Like this should give you enough motivation if you just thinking to participate or not. Like you have a 1 month time from today, I guess 1 month of time you have to submit your project. So in 1 month you can create a very good project, and first of all define a problem statement and start working on it.
Yes, I'm there. Yeah, so hi Rohit, hi everyone. I hope you all have enjoyed the session, and I must say, Rohit, the session was undoubtedly like insightful and awesome too. So now we will be transitioning from fireside chat segment. So the stage is now set for more interactive segment where we will engage in an candid conversation with Rohit. And after all, it's not every day that we get to pick the brain of someone who has excelled on a global stage. So yeah, Rohit, how was the feeling when you got to know that your solution is among top 50 globally?
So mostly because our time zone works different from all the Googlers present around the world. So we got the news around midnight, I guess around 3 to 4. At
Okay.
most of the time, because we were in college, we were not early birds. So we used to
Mhm.
sleep late and wake up late. So like I got to know around by 12, because all my teammates were just trying to call me that okay, our solution has gotten, and I was like, okay,
Okay.
that's good, but I guess that's also news that we have to work upon that more so that we can get selected on the next round.
Okay, that was really nice. So moving on to the next question, like, what problem or need did your project addressed, and how did you leverage the Google technologies there?
Right. So that's a very important thing, that how do you identify your problem statement. So I would say look around you, like look
Hmm.
around the people around you, like what problem they are facing. So I have did my schooling from Delhi, and Delhi is infamous for its pollution and all.
Correct.
So I know that there is a problem that I need to solve is regarding pollution, and the major
Hmm.
source of pollution is the carbon emissions from different sources, right? So I thought that's a very good problem, because I have faced that problem firsthand, and I can
Hmm.
understand the problem or the difficulties faced by people because of that. So I focused on making a project which reduces the carbon footprint of an individual and an organization. And because I have to take a step back, because in India mostly we are not like concerned about global climate change or
Hmm.
carbon footprint. So I have to first make sure that I create a platform which make them aware about that, like okay, you have this much of carbon footprint, and this is the impact that this can have. Once they have that realization hit, it's more easy and more like uh, what's we can say progressive enough for them to make reduce their carbon footprint. So for choosing your problem statement, I would say just look around you, see the problem which different people in your community or society are facing, and then define your problem statement.
Okay, that's really great. So my next question would be like, are there any specific Google tools or resources that you found particularly helpful during your development process?
So mostly, like, I want to make sure that people collaborate in my project. So I use Google Maps API for that. And that was something really useful. And obviously, my whole application was on Flutter, because Flutter offers me the scalability. Yeah, it solves my scalability issue. I don't have to create two different code bases. I can easily deploy my application on Android, iOS, web. And lastly, I also use Google Cloud for deploying some of my custom made backend APIs, which used to calculate the user's carbon footprint based upon their inputs. So I would say Google Cloud is something that you all can use, because you have to deploy some APIs. And that's a really easy tool, because you can scale your project, you can choose different multiple locations for your databases and server, and you can easily cater any of your user around the globe.
Okay. So, like moving on to the next question. So, like, what was the most challenging part in your challenging part while you were developing your project?
So I guess managing time was the most difficult part, because solution challenge might look like a very long hackathon if you see, because most of the hackathons are 2 or 3 days. But it's very easy that you lose track of your progress, or you stop working on it, and suddenly one day you realize, okay, my submission is in a week and I haven't started working on a project, right? So for me, the most difficult part was managing time, because you have to also work on your college exams, you have to complete your assignments, you have to also attend classes, and after all that, you also have to work on your solution, and also have to test your project. So managing
Correct.
time is something very important, because it's not that you just have to create your solution before submission. Before submission, you have to deploy a solution, deploy a project, and then take feedback from user and then improve upon it, because that's the part you have to explain during submission. So managing your time is like really important thing which you have to take in, and that's also one of the difficulties that I faced.
Okay. So, like he rightly mentioned, managing time. So, I hope like audience will keep in mind. So, from that, like we will move to the next question. So, my next question is, how did you and your team approach the collaboration and communication during your development process?
Hello.
Hello.
Uh,
Yeah. Am I
your,
audible?
your
Yeah.
voice
Shall I
got
repeat the question?
yeah, please repeat the
Yeah.
question.
Okay. Yeah. So my question was, how did you approach the collaboration and communication during your development project?
Okay, so I guess your voice was still lagging, but I got the question that how did I collaborate with my team, right?
Correct. Collaboration and communication part.
So we had a plan that every weekend or every week of a day we will
Hmm.
share our progress.
Hmm.
We divided our
Hmm.
tasks into different segments, and that's also a point I would like to say, that when you form your team, make sure you have a multifaceted team. Let's say if you are good with front end development, pick someone in your team who is good at design, right? Because that
Hmm.
way you have to complement your team member skills. All your team members have to
Hmm.
complement each other's skills. So let's
Hmm.
say you are good with front end development. Pick someone who is good with
Hmm.
back end development or who is good with design. And
Hmm.
also, because you have to write like very big answers, make sure like you have someone who can write different long articles or long answers. You also
Hmm.
have to edit your video. So make sure that like you have someone who can edit a video, who have some experience editing the video. Because if
Hmm.
all of you are front end developers in your team, then who will edit the video, right? Because that's a part
Correct.
of
Correct.
submissions. So make
Hmm.
sure that your team, it's not important that they are expert in the field, but
Hmm.
at least they are responsible enough that they can handle a particular segment of your project. And that way it would be really easy to collaborate and have a fixed timeline that okay, every week of a day or every day of every time of a particular day you would have a
Hmm.
meet, track our progress, and like move ahead. And if anyone is lagging, you have to help them along, and like as I said, complement each other's
Hmm.
skills.
Correct. Correct. So he rightly mentioned. So I think audience would keep this in mind while selecting their teammates. So my next question would be like, can you share one of the memorable moment or learning experience from this challenge?
So, like before participating in Solution Challenge, I didn't have any experience in video editing as of
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I didn't have any proper video editing experience, and I just learned video editing, let's say 6 hours before my submission, because as I said, I had difficulty for the timeline. I faced
Hmm.
issues in that. We had
Hmm.
a project ready, but we didn't
Hmm.
had a proper video editing setup. And
Hmm.
in our team also, no one has any prior experience of video editing.
Hmm.
So I just looked upon some YouTube channels how to edit a video, and like
Hmm.
under 4 to 6 hours, I learned video editing and also edited my video for submissions. Like around 5 minutes before the actual deadline, our Google form
Hmm.
went for submission. So I
Oh my
guess
God, that that's really a memorable moment. Okay, so my next question would be like, has your participation in the Google Solution Challenge influenced your career or future project?
yeah, absolutely. Because if you see,
Hmm.
Google Solution Challenge is a very large hackathon.
Correct.
And let's say if it's starting in January and ending in the month of June, that's
Hmm.
around 6 months you're working on the same project.
Hmm.
So if you work on a single project for let's say 6 months,
Hmm.
irrespective of the fact that you win or not, you have a really good project which you can use ahead, or you can just like actually use it to solve a problem rather than just participating in Google Solution Challenge.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for my project, like when we were selected for top 50, we started
Hmm.
taking it seriously. Before that,
Okay.
we were just participating for the sake of like we were making the project just for the sake of participation. But
Okay.
when we got selected for top 50, we
Hmm.
started working on it seriously,
Hmm.
and we didn't got selected for the next round. So,
Never
but
mind.
but that's not the point. The point is we
Hmm.
started working seriously, and even
Hmm.
though we didn't got selected for the next round, we
Hmm.
still decided that we would work upon it. And in the next 3 to 4 months, we worked upon this, and our project got selected for Google Startup Bootcamp, which selected only 80 teams all around India.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
and that way that helped me to like learn new technologies, because if you are building a project with a single technology, it's a very
Hmm.
vast technology. Let's say Flutter
Correct.
only. If I'm
Hmm.
build my application with Flutter, there's a
Hmm.
lot of things in Flutter which I have to learn, right? So that increased my knowledge base, and it also improved to help my network, because many Googlers or many industry
Hmm.
experts used to contact me and reach out to me that because they wanted to learn more about my project, like how did I build it. And
Hmm.
lastly, like if even if you don't want to do any of these things,
Hmm.
it has a like a very good it can have a very good feature on your resume that can help you while you are applying to jobs.
Correct. And I must say that I can vouch for his project because I have seen in front of me his solution. So that was really good. So like though you didn't get selected in the top 3 or top 10 whatever, but at the end it landed you somewhere good,
Right.
somewhere better place. Yeah. So my next question would be, what advice would you give to participants who are looking to excel in the Google Solution Challenge?
So my simple advice would be pick a problem that actually solves the pick a problem statement that actually solves the problem,
Hmm.
because you have to be you have to choose a problem statement very wisely, because that's the thing you cannot change. You can change your technologies, you can change your business model, you can change your IT solution, but you can't change your problem statement. So make sure you pick a very like feasible problem statement. It's not
Hmm.
like I will just remove hunger all around the globe in just 2 months. Your
Hmm.
problem statement hasn't to be like that, but
Correct.
pick a very feasible problem statement which
Hmm.
shows some potential in the near future, right? Because any solution, or let's say these 17 sustainable development goals, can't
Hmm.
have a very immediate impact. They all have all the solutions which are created, they have an
Hmm.
impact on a larger time of period, right? So pick a very feasible problem statement, and make sure like you work upon technologies which you are working are
Hmm.
not very hard, right? If you are comfortable with a particular technology, use it. Don't use Google technology, because you have to use any one Google technology, right? You don't,
Correct.
and let's say if you're using a website,
Hmm.
and you can just deploy a Google or your application on Google Cloud, and that serves the purpose of using a Google technology. You don't
Hmm.
have to build an Android application or learn a new framework all of now. So pick a technology in which you are experienced, and I think like Google has a lot of a long suite of technologies.
Hmm.
Your project can utilize any one technology, but make sure like pick your strongest weapon. I can say in this case is
Hmm.
technology,
Hmm.
and And the third point which I would like to say is keep a track of time, because you might see that okay, we have a month to work on a project, but this
Hmm.
month would like just vanish in just selecting a problem statement, right? And if you can't get selected in top 100, you won't get selected for further mentorship rounds and all. So
Okay.
you might be seeing that okay, this project solution challenge starts from January to June, but
Hmm.
in reality for you as of now, solution challenge is just for 1 month, which is till
Hmm.
February 22nd. You have to submit a solution which is good enough to move to the next round.
Okay. So that was really an insightful advice. I hope everybody is keeping track on the advice. So like my next question would be like, are there any lessons or strategies that you learned and you would like to share with our aspiring participants?
So one thing I learned about is in the field for design. So
Hmm.
the UI or UX of your project should have like it's very important while you're creating a project,
Hmm.
because you don't have to use fancy fonts or that comic sans, and don't use that kind of font. Just keep a simple font style, keep a very simple and intuitive design, because in the last you're not the one who will be demonstrating the solution to your users. Your
Hmm.
solution itself would be presented to the user. So a solution has to be in such a way that it's self-explanatory. It is intuitive enough to work upon. Let's say we have a example for Instagram, right? No one teaches you how to use Instagram. You just learn it
Hmm.
along the way, right? So you
Yeah.
have to build such an intuitive solution, and so with such a simple UI, right? If I talk about threads was a bit complex as compared to Twitter, in my opinion, because
Hmm.
Twitter has a very simple like strategy, is that you go to Twitter, follow some people, tweet it, that's all. And threads had some different thing like connect with thread. It just introduced a new concept of threads, which people were not aware. That's why
Hmm.
it just gained that traction, and now no one hardly uses threads, right? But Twitter is still going because they followed a very simple design pattern, right? So your solution or your the process of delivering your solution to the users have to be very simple and straightforward. You don't
Hmm.
have to overcomplicate it or simplify it. And lastly, you have to remember that it's your solution who will be interacting with the users and not you. In the video, you can explain like how my solution is working, but for
Hmm.
the users, you won't be going and explaining them how the solution works. It has to be intuitive enough. Your app has to hold the hand of the user and guide them through the process of solving the problem.
Correct. Yeah, that is really correct. Good advice. So like my last question would be like, is there any message or advice would you like to share?
My only advice would be enjoy the process of building this application,
Hmm.
because you will be working very hard. And solution challenge, like if I define it shortly, it's not like a sprint race, it's like a marathon. So sometimes you have to catch up with your friends, sometimes
Hmm.
your friends have to catch up with your pace of working on that project. So make sure that you just keep calm, trust the entire process of building the application or building a project,
Hmm.
and make sure that instead of just winning the project, you just solve the United Nations goal. That would give you a greater motivation. Trust me, like as of now you might be seeing that okay, I can get $1,000, I can get $3,000, but more than that, if you just focus okay, my solution can have such a greater impact, that
Hmm.
would serve a greater motivation of you continuously working on your project, even during solution challenge and even after solution challenge ends, because you would
Hmm.
have a really great project to work on.
Okay. So yeah, that was really great. Thank you so much, Rohit, for joining us. I hope audience have learned a lot. Over to you, Salman.
Thank you, Rohit, for your a little bit contribution in this session.
Thank
And just wanted to say like ठीक है, गूगल सॉल्यूशन चैलेंज स्टार्ट हो चुका है. एंड हमारे कुछ टीम्स अभी भी रेडी है for pitching their ideas with the India regional boot camp. This year, GDSC announced the regional boot camp before the solution challenge, like before the end submission. They have announced like the Indian regional boot camp submissions. So I just wanted to remind all the students today is the last date of the Indian regional boot camps submissions. So you can submit your solution till the 11:59 p.m. tonight. So yeah, and as I'm seeing right now, even I'm also building a solution over there for like different goals across the United Nations goal. So like the process of building and brainstorming with the team is a lot much what enjoying thing for me. Like I'm enjoying the process. So I just wanted to say to all, to the other participants as well, like it just don't do it for like you'll be going to get like just pricing prizes or something or swags. But yeah, you must enjoy the process of building, and like this is how you learn, and this is how you build the, like this is how you make the impact on your like community or your real world. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, is if anyone have any question to Rohit, किसी को भी कोई question होगा तो just put up your question. Like free, feel free to open your mic, and because we have still 10 minutes remain, so we can have a like question answer. Like आपके भी doubt clear हो जाएंगे सभी participants के. So, if anyone have any question, just raise your hand. और एल्स आई थिंक रोहित ने सारे क्वेश्चंस के जवाब तो दे ही दिए हैं. मतलब जहाँ तक कि मुझे जितने क्वेश्चंस थे, इवन एज अ सॉल्यूशन चैलेंज पार्टिसिपेंट, द क्वेश्चन व्हिच आई हैड, आई थिंक all the things are clearly covered up in this session. So I will again thank you to Rohit today for joining us. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, just wanted to Rohit, please share your social handle so our student can interact with you on LinkedIn if they if them have any question or queries about the solution challenge or about your career experiences, so they can have a chat over there with you. So please
So
drop your.
sharing my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So if any one of you has any doubt regarding solution challenge, just contact me over there.
Yeah, cool. One more thing, like thank you so much, Asta, for like for your time. Like as you also contributed in this session as a host from the WTM Sambhajinagar. So like for those who don't know like what is WTM Sambhajinagar. So basically we are running a community like Women Tech Makers by the Google, like as GDSC. So we are going to like create an impact and empower the women with our ambassador Asta Patel. So this session was got recorded, and it's live on to the YouTube channel of the GDSC and the Twitter handle of the WTM Samajinagar. So make sure you're following to all of our like social handles of WTM Samajinagar. So if you're not, so we are going to share you the links over to the chat box. So hope you'll be going to like have a look onto the WTM as well. If Asta, if anything you wanted to add for the WTM, you can go over there.
No, like soon we would be starting IWD. So I just wanted, like we would be circulating things about it soon. And also, I wanted to mention that Rohit, your journey from our college to the global hackathon stage has left an incredible mark on us. That was really great.
That's good to hear.
Okay, thanks a lot for joining us. I hope audience have learned a lot from your journey. And if there will be any question, I'll forward it to you.
Sure.
So yeah, thank you for joining us today. Thank you everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining on Sunday.